What is up, everybody? It is Alex from Heavy New York calling from Zoom again, and this time we are here with Andreas of the Oklahoma Kid. Thank you for being here today, man. It's great to have you here.
Hey, it's great. Thanks, Alex, for having me.
Yeah, I was really excited to interview today because with your label A Rising Empire, after the Venues album came out last year, it almost seemed like that they're like the Arising label for like modern day metalcore bands.
Um, yeah, they just released another single. I think they're just starting to release a new album, and I'm
Yeah.
really stoked about it.
Yeah, but with the new album, which is a Tangerine Tragic, which just came out this past June, how was the overall making of this album? Was this meant to kind of be a continuation of Solar, the previous album, or was this meant to be like a new beginning for the Oklahoma Kid?
It's definitely not a new beginning. So we had some visions at writing Solar Ray, and I think we were just getting the hang of the songwriting, how the Oklahoma Kid should sound, and then we just did it again, but better, I would say. Like we knew how it supposed to sound before songwriting. So I think that's like the whole difference. But it's not a new beginning, and it's not Solar Ray 2. It's just a different album.
Was there at all any preconceived idea for what Tangerine Tragic was supposed to sound like, or was there a lot of improvising and experimentation involved?
I think improvising and experimentation was the idea of the album. Um, I mean, we've been writing this album. As Fred is the main songwriter, and I think he started with Tangerine Tragic right after Solar Way. So a lot of songs are basically 2 years in the making, and some songs were like completely had a complete makeover in the studio. So it's just about yeah indiv- individuality. In each song has its own story and character, and I think that was the idea to get a lot of different sounding songs, but to have them together to sound as an album. If you understand
Yeah,
what I mean.
yeah. But with every song playing by its own rules, do you almost have to like adjust your guitar playing? Does it almost feel like you have to incorporate a different technique with every song, or like incorporate different strategies?
Um, a little bit. I mean, every song is on its own and has different influences, but overall they just blend into metalcore, and that's what most guitar playing is coming from. I mean, some songs like "Melt Into You" have more like a rockish attitude. So I mean, this it's played a little bit different, and there are also like the softer songs. Um, but it was nothing where we had to adjust too much. I think it wasn't forced to sound different. It just came out of our fingers, I would say.
And with writing it over the course of 2 years, you mentioned that some of them were revamped in the studio. So if we were to like listen to the early demos of what's off of Tangerine Tragic, how shocked would your listeners be that like this is the same song?
Some songs sound exactly like before the studio, and other songs have been heavily influenced by the studio, but not really from the songwriting, more from the sound. You know, if you want to have like an indie influence like that Black to Pink has, our pre-production skills are limited. We know how it should sound, but um, yeah, it was great to work with a professional like Jan on the sounds of each individual song.
Yeah. Well, being that every song plays by its own rules, as you mentioned, and I definitely hear that with the album, does that also just come from you and everybody else in the band having different sources of inspiration?
Yes, totally. It's I can't even tell you which inspiration is from which band member, but we all listen to a lot of non-metal music, like basically every other genre.
And is that like, would that be evident like in specific songs? Like, have you thought about completely going even farther outside the boundaries of metalcore?
Um, we were thinking about that, yeah. And I think two songs on the album have been going to completely outside of metal, like Fly Black to Pink. And also words like violence don't really sound that metalish. Of course, they're in a metal context, they're on the album, and uh, you would know this. These are songs written by a metal band, but uh, we we don't think to go further away from metalcore. To we we're not really planning to go away from metal. We we don't really plan anything on the songwriting, and I think that's what keeps it so fresh for us.
Yeah, I've noticed like there's a lot of like metalcore bands that like have changed so much over the years. When you look at a band like Crown the Empire, or a band like
Yeah,
Dance Gavin Dance, or even Under Oath, it almost seems like a lot of metalcore bands tend to like to go off and experiment.
yeah, man. Your taste in music changes. The band is getting older, different people. Um, I think that's completely normal.
Yeah. And being the guitar player, kind of going back to the inspiration of the Oklahoma Kid, like what is your main inspiration for like riff writing and for guitar work? Is there like a guitar player within the metalcore or without the metalcore genre that really influenced you?
So for me personally, it's I'm really loving to play riffs, and um, I think James Hetfield was just a big influence since I started to play guitar, and because he's like an almost awesome rhythm guitar player, and I'm really into that. And I'm not really into like this noodling solo stuff, but yeah, that's basically it. And I was never a fan of guitarists. Like I was always fan of other instrumentalists and of just whole bands and their music. I'm not a guitar fan. I'm a music fan, if you could say so.
Yeah, that's a good quote. That's, you should write that on your guitar when you play live. I'm not a guitar fan. I'm a
Yeah,
music fan.
yeah.
Yeah. Um,
That's it. Leads uh, to some times when other guitarists of other bands are coming up on me and want to start like a nerd guitar talk, and I'm like, sorry, I don't know all these guitar guys.
yeah. I,
I'm not that kind of guitarist.
Yeah, I mean, isn't that always like a given? Like that's something that guitar players need to be prepared for nowadays. I'd imagine when you're playing at the show, I've always felt there's a famous saying, and this isn't my saying, but people go up to the front of the show either to cheer on the front man or to examine the guitar player's pedal boards.
Yes, it is no pedalboard to be found at our show.
That's
It's
another that's
all
another good slogan. You should mention that to the publicity
yeah.
team. The Oklahoma Kid. You won't find a pedal board here.
Yeah, you can just enjoy the show. You don't no nerd talking.
No nerd talking. Um, but when it comes to the live show, I mean, I'd imagine that there is sort of like a very DIY sort of aspect behind it because it's seen with so many genres. When you're playing live, is it like a very different experience, like when you're playing in a club, or versus like playing in the studio?
Um, of course, in the studio, you just focus on playing the song right, and live, it's a whole other dimension. It's just performing and feeling the show. So it's obviously the focus is on playing the song right first, but you know, you're just in a different zone. You're just there to entertain and also like getting feedback from the audience and audience getting feedback from you.
Definitely. And the final question I wanted to ask you is again kind of going back to the style of metalcore. Like, what would you say makes a metalcore band fall into that metalcore category? Because when you compare Killswitch Engage to Under Oath to Crown the Empire to As I Lay Dying, I mean, there's so many different uh, bands that are like labeled in that category. And I always like asking bands that go by that category this question. What is there like an element that all metalcore bands have to have?
It's a hard question. But I think like I can really tell what it's metalcore. I think there are some bands that define the style, and every band that sounds like this is metalcore. I don't know. You could say it's like you have to have breakdowns and screaming vocals, and then it's metalcore. But there are a lot of other styles that have these two things, you know. And also like there's this really old school metalcore riffs that like As I Lay Dying and Killswitch Engage and Bullet for My Valentine and these kind of bands. But also metalcore is evolving. I don't know what is metalcore today. Like no band wants to be called metalcore because everyone thinks about this 2012 metalcore style.
Yeah.
You know, it's like the genre changed.
Yeah.
You can't tell.
Well, if you
I can't.
well, if you talk to somebody older and you tell them like, "Oh, our band is metalcore," like if you talk to somebody older, they'll be like, "Oh, does it sound like Shadows Fall or Killswitch Engage?" You talk to somebody younger, "Oh,
Yeah,
does it
right.
sound like Asking Alexandria or Bring Me the Horizon or something like that?" So
Yes, right. So it's a fast the genre changes in a fast pace.
definitely. So before we go, I want to thank you for your time today. Is there just anything else that you would like to promote with the release of Tangerine Terrace now that it's or Tangerine Tragic? Sorry, I was thinking of Evergreen Terrace. But is there just anything else that you would like to promote with the release of this album? And can we be expecting to see the Oklahoma Kid in the States very soon?
We hope to tour the States sometimes, but at the moment we have to just get on the road in Germany and Europe again because there was like such a long break. I think if there wouldn't have been the pandemic, maybe we would have been to the States already. But since everything got postponed already, we're just looking forward to play all the festivals this year in Germany and around Germany, and also looking forward for touring in Europe overall. But yes, of course, it's one of our biggest goals to tour the US.
Yeah. Where in Germany are
And
you at now?
where I'm right now.
Yeah, or where the band is from?
Oh, so I'm living in Berlin, but the rest of the band is from Rostock, like at the Baltic Sea.
Okay.
So yeah, if there's anything to promote, yeah, then catch us on tour in Germany in October. But I don't think that your audience is going to Germany. But hey, if you're there, maybe
We have
come over and say hi.
we've interviewed a lot of bands from Germany, all over, ranging from Berlin to Frankfurt to Stuttgart to Munich. So I think we have plenty of German followers on here, but it'll be cool to see the Oklahoma Kid in the States, and it's cool too when the band is from Europe because in the United States when a band goes on the road, they'll go from one coast to the other, but it's always the same country. Whereas for you could tour through Germany, then Switzerland, then Austria, and like tour to like different countries. You got
Yeah,
47 countries.
exactly.
You got 47 countries to tour through. We got 50 states.
Yeah, but also isn't like every state different from each other? So you have the same kind of feeling. Like when we were on tour with Imminence, and we were playing like 21 shows in 12 different countries in 24 days, and that's crazy to do. Like having a different country every day,
Yeah.
it feels crazy. But I think a States tour for us would be so new, and we would be so excited that every day would feel like a new country as well.
Yeah, definitely. You go to New York, then go to LA, it's like completely like out of left field. But but
Yes.
but regardless of what state you're in, I could tell you this. Everybody equally sucks at driving. So just be aware of that. But thank you so much, everybody. We are here with the Oklahoma Kid. Please be sure to check out Tangerine Tragic, out now on A Rising Empire. We'll see you next time on Heavy New York.